I just want to say, don't let your story go to waste. Don't let your story be in vain. You know what I mean? When you have a testimony that is not normal, that is like huge, you have to be hungry enough to want to see changes and hungry enough to want to use that testimony to help people. You get what I'm saying? Like, it has to be a drive. It has to be a passion. You have to have some type of hunger. The Lord says man can't live off of bread alone. So you have to be hungry enough for God to be able to say, you know what, I'm willing to use my testimony to help others, to help people who are going through similar things, or to uplift or to motivate people. Don't be ashamed of your testimony and what you had to go through and what you had to endure. I posted a video the other day talking about like when I was naive, I was always handing over my money to someone because they kept saying they were gonna save it for me and flip it and all of that stuff. And people considered it giving, you know, and tried to shame me for that and tried to say I was giving away my money. But it's not giving away your money when someone is telling you what they're going to do with it and give you back in return to encourage you to give to them, right, in the first place. But you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you're brave for even talking about this. But it's not even about being brave. It's about me letting people know, hey, I can relate to you. For someone who's going through my same situation, I can relate to you. You know, even though I was afraid to put it out, and God pushed me to put it out. And he even told me the same night, don't be ashamed for what you said. He said I did nothing wrong. I was straight up robbed. And he literally said to me to continue talking because it's helping people, right? So after he said that to me, it motivated me even more to be more open about certain things that I've gone through in my life, because I know it's going to help a lot of people. Don't ever be ashamed of your testimony. Don't let people even try to make you feel discouraged for sharing what you've been through. There's some people out there who actually envy your pain. And I know it sounds crazy and bizarre, but it's the truth. People out here envy your pain because your pain is book worthy, movie worthy. Like, your pain is literally something that is not normal, okay? Because then one day you're gonna look back and be like, man, I wish I would have spoke about this, because it's not only eating me up, even though I've forgiven, it's eating me up, and I have not used what I have gone through for a good cause. I could have helped someone else, could have helped a youth prevent doing or going through what I went through. You get what I'm saying? Like, don't just let your story just be put on the back burner, or no one hears what you're going through, whatever. It's not to say tell the world, but find your passion, find your creativity, find what it is you love to do, your talent, and put your story into that. Put your story into that. It doesn't have to be writing. It doesn't have to be music. It doesn't have to be a book. Whatever you are good at, whatever you want to do in your life, let your pain, let your testimony, let that fuel you. Let what you've endured fuel you. You don't let what you've endured consume you. Don't let the pain eat you up. Don't let it consume you. Don't let it put you in depression. Don't let it put you in sadness. Don't let it make you angry. Don't let it make you unforgiving. Do you get what I'm saying? Let the pain push you. Let the pain motivate you. And I know it sounds weird saying that, because you know, when you're in pain, of course you're not going to be motivated to do certain things. But when you see the bigger picture behind the pain, it's almost like you don't want it to be in vain. It's almost like, okay, this happened to me and it was unfortunate, but I'm going to use it for a good cause. I'm going to use it to help people. I'm going to use it to uplift people. I'm going to use what I've been through and I'm going to turn it around. Do you get what I'm saying? That's the whole point of a testimony. That's the whole point of a testimony. That's the whole point. Many of you guys have a testimony that's just sitting on the back burner and you're not doing anything about it, about your testimony. Okay, let me tell you something. I watched a movie last night, and I don't know why the Lord led me to this movie. After I was watching the movie, I'm like, God, we sure know how to pick them. Because I always end up watching these movies. But when I watch a movie, I watch a movie with God. I include God in everything I do. And last night, you know, after I had a whole day, I was so busy and everything, God was like, just sit down, rest, watch a movie. I said, okay. So I picked this movie called Monster. Okay, and it's not what you think. It's not a horror movie or anything like that. It's not a demonic movie either. It's called Monster. It's about a 17-year-old boy who was convicted for a crime that he didn't do. okay? Before he was convicted for the crime, not convicted, before he was arrested, because he wasn't convicted, you know, I can't tell you the movie, but I can't tell you the movie, but I'll say this: before he even got arrested for a crime that he didn't commit, right, he was in film school. And when I saw the movie, I was like, oh my gosh, God, he's in film school like me, you know. But in film school, I remember he was telling to the teacher was basically saying to the students, why do artists create art and all that stuff? And a lot of people were like, oh, you know, for money or for fame, da 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 da. And the teacher was like, no, artists create movies and whatever their art, whatever art they're doing, it's basically for them to tell their story, because they've experienced something so heavy, so traumatizing. It's hard to just sit and let what they've experienced dwell inside of them. So they have to release it. Releasing it helps with the healing. So they release it by putting it in their art, in their craft. So whether it's a movie, whether it's music, whether it's writing a book, whatever the artist does, they release what they've been through into the art to help people and to show people and to tell people their story. Even if they don't say, hey, I actually went through this, they just tell people a story. It's like watching a fiction movie and you think it's fiction, but it's not actually fiction. It's actually real. It's facts. But you would only know it's real and it's facts if you're able to have specific access to the spiritual realm to see these types of creatures, to know they actually exist, right? But many people who have the veil on or who are unable to see in the spirit, they would think that it's just a fiction type of movie and this type of stuff doesn't really exist. But the director is actually, or the story, not the director, but the writer of the movie is actually creating something that they've experienced in the spiritual realm. Do you get what I'm saying? So many times I tell you guys that as an example, but anyways, in this movie, the teacher was telling the students this. And the guy that was 17-year-old that got charged for murder he didn't commit, he was like, but what if I don't have a story? Or what if it's not interesting enough for me to tell? Because the teacher was basically explaining how the story that the things that you go through, your story, it's supposed to make you so hungry you want to tell people, because it's such an interesting story. You want to tell people, you want to put it in your art. Like, you have to release it. If you don't release it, it feels like you're being trapped in a way. Basically, that's what he was basically saying, right? And that's basically what he was saying. Not exact words for verbatim, but basically what he was trying to say. And the guy was basically saying, like, what if my story is not, I'm not hungry enough because I don't have an interesting story? What if I'm not, you know, motivated enough because I don't have an interesting story? And the teacher was like, well, that's because you have not found your actual story as yet, which means that whatever he's already gone through in his life was not as interesting for him to be hungry enough to put it out there. So basically the teacher was like, you haven't found your story yet. So he hasn't gone through nothing yet, basically, right? Right after he said that, the guy was wrongfully charged for a murder that he didn't even commit. That alone right there was the story that started happening to him. And he went through so much. That whole process was traumatizing, and the whole process was crazy, and it ended up being a testimony after. And at the end, I can't tell you the end of it, but let's just say that he was able to put it in his art. Okay, same concept with you guys. Okay, like when I saw the movie, what I took from that movie is that when we go through certain things in our life, things that are not normal, like the spiritual warfare, the witches attacking us, the warlocks attacking us, being framed, because that kid was framed, being framed. A lot of us are framed. A lot of chosens are framed. Hence why we were scapegoats growing up. Everyone's dumping their sins on us. Everyone's lying on us. The amount of things that we had to go through, we have stories. Okay, we don't have one story. We have stories for days and months. And when I was watching the movie, I started to chuckle at the end of the movie, because I was like, God, is this why you push us so much to get whatever you want us to work on out there? Is this why you push us? Is this why you encourage us? Is this why you're always telling us to not give up? And he confirmed, like, yes, this is exactly the analogy that he's been trying to tell us. Like, when we go through certain trials and tribulations that's not normal, that can take people out, we go through this stuff not because we're supposed to go through it and sit and look pretty, or sit and look broken, or sit and cry. No, we go through it so we are able to use our testimony, aka our story, and we are able to tell people about it. We're able to uplift people about it. We're able to show people the grace of God. Like, look what we went through and God helped us get out of that. Look what I had to endure and God pulled me through that. Look what they had to endure and God pulled them through that. Do you get what I'm saying? So the point of us going through these trials and tribulations is for us to use what we have endured and turn it into something beautiful and share it with people, right? So I just want to say, let your story, your testimony, let it fuel you. Let it make you hungry. The same thing that teacher was saying. Like, let it push you to be able to continue on the journey and do what it is God needs you to do, so you're able to get yourself out there, get your story out there, whatever way you're going to get it out there, because not everyone's going to be a writer, not everyone's going to be a painter, not everyone has a different way of wanting to express their testimony. Your testimony is your testimony, and how you choose to express it is how you choose to express it. But do not let the pain, everything that you've endured in your life, cause you to sit on the back burner and be still and not let your testimony out. You have to let your testimony out so people can see the wonders of the Lord. And also, God is not even finished with your testimony yet. There's a lot more things that God has in store for you, which is explaining the video I posted this morning where I said, when God said, let me take the lead for you so you can be full speed. There's a lot more things that God has in store for you, right? And there's a lot of things that God has you guys working on that is connected to your testimony. You don't even realize it. You're still working. God is still working on your testimony. That's the thing. But in order for you to get to a position to where, okay, my testimony is heard or my testimony is seen, you have to comply and you have to work on your assignments. Because your assignments have to be completed for it to be out there, for it to be a testimony. Whatever assignment he has specifically given you, and I talked about that earlier this morning in that video, this message connects with that as well. This message connects with that. When I saw the teacher tell this young man, okay, artists are so hungry for art and they are so eager to put their story out, they end up putting it in their craft, and they have this feeling of, I can't let my story stay within me, and like I have to release it. It's almost like they're like, I have to release it in some type of way, and they find a way to do it through their art. When he said that, it really, really hit me, because that's exactly the truth. A lot of people will say an actor is fake because they have to pretend they're acting, so they're fake, not realizing the craft and the art behind acting. You have to know who the character is. You got to put yourself in the character's shoes. You got to learn about the character, what the character has been through, the types of traumas, etc. There's a lot that goes behind it. And oftentimes when you're in that position and you let's just say you choose a role of a character that's been through spiritual warfare like you did, okay? And let's just say the character almost died, okay? You playing that role, it's going to be easy for you to cry. It's going to be easy for you to get angry. It's going to be easy for you to be all that, not because you're faking, but because you know exactly what the character went through, right? So the writer of that movie, that script, also understands because they're writing what they've been through. But you know, because you can relate to that as an actor, so it's easy for you to play that role. Do you get it? So there's a lot that goes behind it. But when I was watching, when the guy said that, it really hit me, because I'm like, this is actually the truth. And that's when God was like, yep, this is what happens with the testimony. When you put your testimony out there, you have no idea how much people understand what you're going through, how much people have actually went through something similar, yet the whole time you were holding that in, you thought it was just you. The whole time you were holding that in, depressed, you thought it was just you. It's time for you guys to use what you have been through and use it for a good cause. Okay? And that's where God has taken many of you guys. He has taken you up the ladder. And that's why he wants you guys to consistently work on your assignments, whatever assignment he has given you, because it has something to do with your testimony. Okay? So I just want to share that with you guys. Keep moving forward, and remember, how hungry are you to be able to use your testimony for good use? Because that's going to determine the type of drive you're going to have to get this done. okay? Just know, if you sit back and not do anything about it, it's now in vain. You don't want it to be in vain. You get what I'm saying? Look what happened with Christ. Look what he went through, right? Whenever we think about what he did for us on that cross, that alone fuels us. That alone pushes us. That alone encourages us. Imagine if that was kept a secret. Do you get what I'm saying? Look what happened to Joseph. Reading Joseph's story, look how that encourages us and keeps us going. And look at all the obstacles he had to go through, from his brothers, from being framed and lied on to go into jail. And then, do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's like, look at all that and look at what he had to go through, and look at where he got to. Here's the thing, because the Bible is already written, right? And they're not going to put any of our testimonies of warfares in the Bible. But God, instead of, some people, they read the Bible and they read Joseph's story, Daniel's story, Esther's story as a reference to what they're going through in their life to help encourage them. Whatever you're working on, see it the same way. That, yeah, your story may not be in the Bible, but your walk alone with Christ and the things that you had to endure, that testimony, in order for God to be able to get your testimony out there, the assignment has to be completed. And when that assignment is completed, now you have your story out there, and you're able to encourage someone, just like Esther, just like Joseph, just like Job, just like David. You may not be in the Bible, but your story may be put elsewhere to help someone else in whatever you're doing. Your book, your art, your writing, your drawings, your music, your therapy, your coaching sessions, whatever it is that you do. You may even be a doctor. You may even have a blog. You may have a YouTube channel. You may have a podcast. Your story, aka your testimony, is a part of your journey. It's a part of your blessing. Even if it doesn't feel like it, it is a part of your blessing. Instead of crying, sulking, being depressed over it, use it for a good cause. Okay? I love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.